Hi everyone, I am back. So today is a really exciting topic. Today is all about forgiveness. And I'm super excited to share about this because I don't think that this is the typical way that people might think about forgiveness. And I just want to ask everyone who's coming on, please ask questions because I would love for this to be more of a discussion. And then in the end too, you'll have the opportunity to ask specific questions and I can pull a card for you. So again, today I'm talking about forgiveness, and this isn't forgiveness in the sense of like forgiving someone who wronged you, quote unquote, because really no one has ever really wronged you. It's more your reaction to events or circumstances that have occurred in your life. So in that sense, we're really taking the power back. And the forgiveness that I'm going to be talking about today is all about forgiving yourself. Okay? So in whatever areas you may be holding guilt or holding yourself in contempt or in some way thinking that you did something wrong, you have regret about something, or you feel that you messed up and you regret it or you feel guilty about it, this is the type of forgiveness that I'm talking about. Forgiving yourself and letting yourself off the hook, because that is where the true power lies in creating massive changes in your life. Because in whatever areas that you are holding yourself in contempt, feel guilt or shame, then you are not going, those are blocking you, right? You are not going to be able to attract what you're calling in if you are still holding on to guilt, shame, or holding yourself in contempt in some way. So when I'm talking about forgiveness, I'm talking about forgiving yourself. Now, there is a little tricky thing about this because a lot of these feelings of guilt and shame or holding yourself in contempt or thinking that you did something wrong, a lot of these are living in the subconscious, right? So we're not fully aware of it. I just was having a conversation yesterday with my husband, and not to out him at all, but I told him I thought he needed to let go of guilt. And he's like, well, I don't feel guilty about anything. And I'm like, of course you don't, because these thoughts are living in your subconscious, right? So it's not always easy to detect. And this is what I was talking about yesterday, about beginning to go deep into the subconscious work so you can begin to explore what is living down there. Because sometimes we're not even aware of the ways that we may be holding on to guilt and shame, right? But today I'm going to talk about some key ways that you can bring those things to your awareness. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I just want to get really clear on what type of forgiveness I'm talking about here. So this isn't like, oh, this person wronged me, I'm going to forgive them. This is about true forgiveness of yourself, letting yourself off the hook, stop holding yourself in contempt in whatever way you think you did something wrong, realizing in a deep, deep way that you did the best you could and you were innocent, and letting yourself off the hook. And in my course, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, I show you a really miraculous process to forgive yourself. And it's an amazing forgiveness process that I learned from one of my teachers that is also from A Course in Miracles. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with A Course in Miracles. It is a very high vibrational spiritual text that's very, very dense. But I have studied it a lot, and I did a lot of the lessons in A Course in Miracles, and this forgiveness process has been very powerful for me, and that's why I've included it in my course, The Metamorphosis. So if you're just tuning in, hi everyone, I'm talking about forgiveness right now, and I'm talking about how we can utilize the power of forgiveness to make massive shifts. And also, please, if you have questions, please ask them, because I would love to answer your questions, and I would love to get into more of a discussion, because sometimes I forget to say certain things. So I would love if you ask questions about this topic, because I just want to be really clear on what type of forgiveness I'm talking about. So if you feel like you don't really know if you need to forgive yourself, chances are you do, because we all hold ourselves in contempt for something, right? We all carry certain guilt or certain shame about something that happened, whether it was in childhood. Usually it's in childhood. It could also be something that happened in adulthood, but usually the root cause of why we're holding on to guilt and shame is something that happened in childhood. And I'll tell you why. Because like what I was talking about yesterday is we absorb everything that we start to think about the world, all the decisions and beliefs that we have about the world, we create them when we are young children, right? From 0 to 7 or 8, we are absorbing everything around us and making decisions about the world based on what we see with our relationships with our parents, with our relationships with our siblings, the environment that we're living in, right? All of these things contribute to the beliefs we have about the world. Well, when we're children, any unfortunate events that happen, whether it was a divorce or maybe a parent is emotionally unavailable or anything that happens that is upsetting to us, chances are as a child, in some way, you believe that that was your fault. And intellectually now especially, you know that it's not your fault, but as a child, you usually see your parents as people who can do no wrong. They always know the answers. You're looking to them for answers. So if something goes wrong when you're a child, many times we will take on guilt about it, thinking that it was their fault, that it's your fault. So just to give an example, like a lot of times when kids are emotionally abused or there's some type of emotional manipulation going on in the family, kids tend to take that on, or they get confused about it and they think that they did something wrong, right? So usually, and especially if there's like a divorce or the parents are fighting, a lot of times kids will take that on and think that it's their fault and they did something wrong, and then they hold on to guilt and shame around that. And then you usually will carry that with you in your subconscious and hold on to it. That's why the power of forgiving yourself is so important, because until you can start to let go of that guilt and shame, you are going to have blocks to creating certain things in your life. And like I was talking about yesterday, the way that you know if you have a block around something is if you are wanting a result in your life that you are not getting. If you're wanting a result in your life that you are not getting, then you definitely have a subconscious limiting belief around that, or a block around that. So releasing guilt and shame is a really powerful way to start to unblock these areas and start to see major results in your life, because chances are there's some type of guilt and shame that you're holding on to, usually from childhood. So in my course called The Metamorphosis, and if you haven't heard me talk about this yet, this is an 8-week course. It is 8 weeks to uncovering your divine purpose and creating rockstar status in career and relationships. So I have basically taken all of the blocks that most humans have from their relationships with their family and societal conditioning, and I've helped you uncover what they are and release them through journaling process and really powerful breathwork sessions. And then as you release all of these blocks from growing up and from societal conditioning, then I take you in is, oops, I think I went out for a second, that there is huge power in forgiving yourself, because once you can forgive yourself for whatever it is that happened, that event, circumstance, or situation no longer holds any power over you. And it's not living there in your subconscious holding you back. So the ways that you can kind of see if you're holding on to guilt and shame, A is through breath work, right? Because in breath work, as we start to breathe and the energy starts to move through the body, subconscious thoughts, subconscious feelings, and beliefs begin to rise to the surface into our conscious awareness. So these thoughts that are living in our subconscious, they begin to rise to the surface into our conscious awareness, and we start to have an awareness of them. And if you were watching me yesterday, you know that in order to change a subconscious belief, having awareness of it is the biggest key, because once you have that awareness, you have the power to change it immediately if you want to, right? Sometimes it takes longer than that. Sometimes it takes a little more work, but the awareness is key, because if you don't have the awareness, you don't know what you need to change, right? But if you have that awareness of what that subconscious belief is, then you have the power to change it. So one way to figure out if you're holding on to guilt and shame is by the power of breath work, which I see so many of my clients, like in one session, having memories of things that have happened in childhood that they're like, oh wow, I was holding on to this, and this was basically driving every single decision that I made, right? So for instance, if I had a client who had a family where there was a lot of emotional enmeshment, meaning parents didn't have proper emotional boundaries with their children. And what that means is, like, if a parent, for instance, was sharing things with a child about their own emotional distress, whether it be in their relationship with the father or whatever it is, sharing things with the child that the child isn't really emotionally ready to handle yet, that's emotional enmeshment, or it's emotional abuse in some way, because the parent is kind of using the child as a confidant when the child isn't really emotionally ready for that, right? So the child learns improper boundaries. The child doesn't know how to set proper boundaries because their boundaries were impeded so much when they were younger. So then that child might grow up and form relationships where people are constantly impeding on their boundaries because they didn't learn that growing up. They didn't see that modeled from their parents, which yesterday I was talking all about how kids learn through modeling. That's the way that kids learn about the world, is by modeling what the people around them do. So it's not necessarily about what you tell your kids, it's what you show your kids, which I know can be a little bit scary sometimes. It scares me with my own kids. So anyway, that's what can happen is in a breathwork session, people will realize like a memory of something that happened and be like, wow, when this thing happened, I made this decision, or I started to feel guilty, and then have been holding on to guilt for, 15, 20, 25 years. And this guilt has been driving the decisions I make instead of my true essence, my true heart, my higher self, driving the decisions that I make, right? So in a breathwork session, we can uncover this really quickly. It doesn't have to be difficult. These feelings will rise to the surface pretty quickly, especially if you have the intention that that's what you want to deal with. It will rise to the surface and it will happen pretty quickly. So breathwork is a great way to see where you're holding on to guilt and shame, and then where you can do the forgiveness process around. And then the other really easy way to see where you're holding on to guilt and shame is thinking about what you would be really, really afraid of other people knowing about you, right? So this is like your shadow self, the part of you that you don't really want to show anyone, that you feel ashamed of, that you're scared people would find out about you. So looking at what you have deep fears around sharing with people or people knowing about you, that is a great indicator of where you're holding on to guilt and shame. So I hope that makes sense, because that can be a little bit nuanced and you might have to dig around a little bit. But whatever it is that you have a lot of fear around, you're most likely holding guilt and shame in that area from something that happened around that when you were younger. So these are really great ways to see where you're holding on to guilt and shame. But it will come up in a breathwork session no matter what. So that's really like a really quick, easy way to figure it out. And then once you can see where you're holding on to guilt and shame, then you can do this powerful forgiveness process around it, which I give to you in my course, and it really is miraculous. So it's been so powerful for me. I've done it so many times, and that's one of the other great things about my course material is it's yours for a lifetime, and you can continue to go back and use it over and over again to continue to make massive shifts in your life. Because I've basically compiled everything that I have learned about personal growth and used in my own process to create massive shifts in my own life, from healing from anxiety, healing from an eating disorder, building my own business, feeling safe and comfortable to talk to people on live, like all of these things that I have done, I've taken from the processes that I've done, and I've written a curriculum for it that will really like fast track you to get the results that you want. In my background as an educator, I know how to write a really good curriculum. So I have that understanding and knowledge, and I've really streamlined everything to make it super simple and easy for you. So you'll definitely get to do this process in the course, and I would love to talk to you more about that. I'm gonna put a link below to schedule a call with me to sign up for the course, because I'm running early bird pricing just for this coming week. So I wanna get as many people in as possible at that price so everyone can have the chance to create massive change and massive results. So that is the power of forgiveness. That is understanding that you're holding on to guilt and shame and what you can do about it, right? Because sometimes we're not even aware of it. And then the biggest part is gaining that awareness, right? And then using the power of forgiving yourself, letting yourself off the hook, stop holding yourself in contempt, stop feeling like you did something wrong. Because the most important thing about this is that when you are holding on to guilt and shame, when you are holding yourself in contempt, that automatically makes you believe that you don't deserve the things that you want in your life. And if you don't inherently, subconsciously believe that you deserve it, then you will not be able to call it in. And that's what I'm really helping you with in my course, is letting go of the guilt and shame by forgiving yourself in a deep way, using the breath work to really allow yourself to release the guilt and shame and forgive yourself completely, see yourself as innocent on a really deep, deep level. And then you'll be able to create the space to call in exactly what you desire and what you really, truly want in your heart. So that is the power of forgiveness. And now I'm going to pull some oracle cards for all of you. So I'm going to pull some cards for the group, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask specific questions. But I'm going to pull some cards just around for the group. What is blocking us from forgiving ourselves completely? How can we let go of guilt and shame, right? So I'm going to pick some cards right now. One definitely. Okay, this one is calling me. Okay, so the first one, and this one is awesome. The first one that came up is chaos and conflict. So this is really, really, really important, because this is like shedding a layer, right? So chaos and conflict ultimately breeds something new, right? So like you can look at it like right now, right? The world seems like it's in total chaos and conflict, but we know that something bigger is happening here, right? Like we know that structures are crumbling so we can build something new, so we can build a more sustainable world that's more in alignment with our hearts, rather than unsustainable ways of doing things that are destructive and hurt other people. We can see on a larger scale that all this chaos and conflict is something new is being born, right? So what this is really showing us is that We need to go in to the uncomfortable feelings, feel that chaos and conflict that is living in our subconscious, feel the guilt and shame that is living in our subconscious, so we can release it and create something new, create something expansive, create something that is aligned with our hearts. So that is what this card is really calling us to do, is to go deep within the subconscious, look at whatever guilt and shame you're holding on to, because we all have it. It's an ongoing process, right? There's always more and more layers to it. So going into the subconscious through the breath work, through the processes that I'm talking about, uncover where you're holding on to guilt and shame, what you're holding on to guilt and shame for, and allow yourself to forgive yourself completely. So in order to get there, you need to go into that chaos and conflict. You have to. You have to feel it. You have to know that it's there, and then you can release it. And then, this is perfect, like always. And then there's mending. And this is really about mending your relationship with yourself. And Tony, I think you were watching, but Tony got this card yesterday and it was perfect for her. But it's perfect because once you go in and you see exactly where you're holding on to guilt and shame, exactly where you're holding yourself in contempt, then you can start to mend that. Then you can start to mend the relationship with yourself, because that's what the most important thing is here, is mending your relationship with yourself. Stop holding on to guilt. Yes, Tony. Stop holding on to guilt. Stop holding on to fear or shame, and start to mend that relationship with yourself and really start to honor what's in your heart, because that's what's going to be truly powerful and transformative and allow you to really start to call in the things that you're truly desiring. So that's the next step. And then, this is such a good one, serendipity. So this is like everything is falling into place exactly as it should, and to trust the signs and to look for the signs from the universe, right? So this is perfect because this is all about connecting to your intuition, which is the last part of my course. Is after we release all of the guilt, the shame, the family patterns, the subconscious limiting beliefs, after we forgive ourselves and we release all that, then we connect deeply with our intuition and we step into our divine purpose. So this card is all about everything happening serendipitously, but that also includes you connecting with your intuition and following the signs from the universe, because your intuition ultimately is what's going to guide you to stepping into your purpose and sharing your divine gifts, which is exactly what I think everyone really wants to do, is getting everything else out of the way, releasing whatever is holding you back. And yeah, it can be scary, like I go through fear all the time. Like I'm having this course come out. It feels like I am literally taking my heart and just like putting it out on the table and being like, here, it is a vulnerable place to be, and fear comes up. There's always going to be fear that comes up, but listening to your heart, listening to your intuition, and looking for the signs from the universe about what to do next, and really listening to that voice deep within you that always knows the answer. So what we've seen here is you got to go into the chaos and conflict, right? You have to go into the subconscious, see what fear, guilt, shame, sadness, pain is living there, and release it, right? See what's there, see what you have to let go of, and then use the power of the breath work that I am showing you in my course. Use the power of the breath work to release it. And then you can start to mend your relationship with yourself. And that is where the true magic will start to happen. And once you start to mend the relationship with yourself, serendipitously, you will begin to connect with your intuition, with your inner guidance, which is going to tell you exactly what's next for you. So that's the prescription for today. But it's really, really about doing the work, but also realizing that it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. You just have to be willing to go there with yourself, to go into the fear. And it's so funny because I think the fear of the fear is really what holds us back. Because once we go into the fear, it lasts like 2 minutes and then it dissipates. It's the fear of going into the fear that actually scares us. So once we can just keep moving forward, going through the fear, feeling the feelings that are living in the subconscious, allowing them to come up to the surface so we can release them through breath work, through the journaling exercises that I will provide for you, you will start to see massive shifts. Mending the relationship with yourself and then really starting to sink in to your intuition and allowing that to be your guide, because we all have a connection to our intuition. We all have a voice inside of us, an inner guidance system that always knows the answer. So there's not a need to ask everyone around you or look at what everyone else is doing. The only person who knows exactly what's right for you is you. And that is where I'm going to get you to in the metamorphosis. It really is a powerful agent of change. And if you are wanting to see results in your life quickly, this is for you, because I have made it so easy and streamlined it so well that it can just be like boom, 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 boom. And the breathwork sessions are 30 minutes. That it's an audio where I guide you exactly how to breathe and target it to exactly what you need to let go of to really guide you to release it through the breath. So it's super powerful, and it really is a true expression of my heart. But more than that, it is me really wanting other people to experience the healing and transformation that I have, and really just wanting as many people as possible to see the results that they can have in their lives. And everybody can do it, right? This is available to everyone. Okay, so now I will open it up if there's anyone who wants a card pull. Let me just see if I missed anybody. If there's anybody who has a question or wants me to pull a card for them, please, you can ask me now, and I can either just pull a card, or I can, or if you have a question, you can ask me that now. And then also, just so you know, tomorrow is the very last day of the training, and I am going to be talking about Levi. Sorry, what do you need, babe? Levi,
when can I have the banana bread?
When I come down. Sorry,
which is going to be in 15 minutes?
In a few minutes, yeah. Kids. Yes, Tony, I will pull a card for you. Tony knows all about that. Oh, okay. This is a beautiful card. So it's so funny that my son just came in here, because this is a leg up. And this is, first of all, this is like a mama bear and a baby bear, and the mama bear helping the baby bear have a leg up. And really, this is just about helping each other, right? So there is this sense here of like, you're helping your kids and just being that like mama bear energy, which I really see for you, Tony, and not just as like a mom to your kids, but really as a light worker, which we've already talked about, and really just being able to help other people have a leg up, really just being able to help people. I think that's the next phase for you. So in your life as a career or whatever it is, I really think being able to help people have a leg up is really going to be a powerful shift for you. So yeah, this is all about community and helping each other and leaning on each other. It's so important right now to lean on other people for support. You can't do it by yourself. Yes, it's great to be independent, and there are so many things that you can do by yourself. However, you can't do everything by yourself. You need support, right? And it's so important to lean on other people for support and support other people, right? That's what this time is really all about, is building community and getting support from other people. And that also reminds me of another really important aspect of my course that I wanted to mention, is the community aspect. So in my experience with breathwork, I've been involved with breathwork for almost 20 years now. One of the most important aspects of breathwork and of personal growth work is the community that surrounds it. And that's really what I want to develop in this course, is a community of like-minded individuals, of like-minded souls that are growing, that are transforming, and that are supporting each other. That's why I am going to have a private Metamorphosis Facebook group, along with 2 support calls every month, where everyone can get on the call and we all support each other, including me. I will be there to answer anyone's questions, give support, to tune into everyone's energy and see where everyone's at, and offer any kind of help, wisdom, knowledge, support that I can, because this is all about building community. And my Breathe to Succeed members, that's what I'm doing here, is I want there to be a community where we all help and support each other. So that is a key aspect of the metamorphosis. So you're not going at it alone. We are going to be helping each other, and I am going to be there for you every step of the way. So you get 2 support calls a month where you can ask as many questions and get as much support as you need during those 8 weeks. So it's really, really special, that aspect of community. And I just really want to highlight that because it's so important. You're not going through it alone, and there is going to be support, because for me, I know I could not have done my personal growth journey without the support of like-minded people, my teachers, and the people that have really helped me along the way. So I know that this is a really important aspect for everyone. So does anyone else have a question or would like me to pull a card before I sign off? Oh, and tomorrow is the big day where I'm going to be talking about stepping into your divine purpose. So tomorrow is the last day of the training, and I'm going to be discussing listening to your intuition and stepping into your divine purpose and really sharing your gifts with the world. Because when you come out of the metamorphosis, you are going to be stepping into your divine purpose. So I really want to highlight that tomorrow and talk a little bit more about some key elements to how to gain clarity around what your divine purpose is, and then how to curate your life so that you can really step into that divine purpose, because that's where we all want to be, right? We want to be doing something every day that feeds our soul and that is aligned with our heart and that doesn't feel like work. So that, to me, is the goal. Okay, so if no one else has a question, or if no one else wants me to pull a card, then I am going to sign off now. But please reach out to me if you have any questions, and if you'd like to talk about the metamorphosis and get early bird pricing on that. I'm going to put a link below to set up a call with me to talk about it and to get you signed up, or just answer any questions that you have. So I would love to hear from you. I love talking about this. Even if you just have questions, please reach out to me. I'm going to put the link below for that. So have an amazing rest of your Saturday, and I will see you guys tomorrow for stepping into your divine purpose. All right, bye.